Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome. We are War Torn Creative. I'm specifically Tom, or F. Dot. That's specifically my friend Gavin, and then, of course, Jared right here. And we have a couple of situations that we want to break down from the Strategium. That's what we call the segment. So basically, in an effort with 8th edition, an effort to make everything a little bit more simple, something's getting a little bit more complicated. And we're going to break down some of those complicated things. So we saw an FAQ come out from Games Workshop that covered all this in text, and we're going to dive into it just right on the table. We're going to start first with one of my favorite models. We have the big guy over here. He's got a Spirit Shield and Spirit Stone, or excuse me, Serpent Shield and Spirit Stones, and that's going to interact with how he takes damage.
Right. So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to stand right in front of the camera, and then. All right, so in this scenario, we have a Wave Serpent, when, as we said earlier, we have Serpent Shields and Spirit Stones, both of which add a little extra to the durability of the Wave Serpent. And because my Knight Crusader got so smashed in our last battle report, we figured it should be, it's time to get some revenge on Eldar, no less, because, God, who doesn't like smashing Eldar?
Right.
So rather than rolling out these wounds, or to hits, we've already determined we're firing with the main rapid-fire battle cannon into the Wave Serpent. We've determined that we've got, what is that, six hits. So
Six hits, 6 wounds.
6 wounds, and now we're going to be going for damage. So are we going to, I'm going to roll those D3s?
So this is to emulate the scenario that we encountered in our first match that we filmed, which was the Centurions, but we're going to use a Knight instead because the damage output is the same with the battle cannon in terms of its D3 damage.
Yeah.
Now, the battle cannon also has a -3.
Which is similar to the -3 of the Graph Cannons.
And so what's going to happen now is that he's going to take his saves, the Wave Serpent, and then we're going to resolve those and see what happens. So he's got a 6-up save because he's base 3+, and it's -3.
Right.
And
so, I mean, for speedy's sake, why don't we just use what we've got up here for the D3? So we have, it looks like we've got 2, 3, just a lot. We got some.
Yeah, we got 2. Actually, now here's where the thing is. These are all going to be our D3 rolls. We're just going to go ahead and get into that that way, just to make things more clear. These are all 2 damage apiece, and then these 2 are 3 damage apiece. Now, the Serpent Shield comes into play now, at this moment in time. So after he's failed all his saves, and you do the D3 rolls.
So Tom, you want to give us a rundown of what the rule is for Serpent Shield?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to sort of cover this towards the end, but basically, real talk, it's the intricacy between the Spirit Stones and the Serpent Shield. Since the Serpent Shield, essentially what this does, well, I'll just read it verbatim instead of my own words. Any damage suffered by a Wave Serpent from a ranged weapon is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1. There's some more there, but that's really the key component. And then the Spirit Stones aspect is roll a d6 each time a model with Spirit Stones suffers an unsaved wound or mortal wound. On the 6, the wound is ignored. So we're looking at the intricacy between lowering it by 1, but then also dealing with the Spirit Stones.
So right now where we're at is lowering it by 1, because this is where the Serpent Shields come into play. So all of these 2 damage go down to 1, and these 3 damage go down to 2.
Yep. And
so we're looking at 4 damage over here, and then 4 damage over here.
Yes, which in this case, that means a total of 8 damage. So now 8 damage is being applied to the Wave Serpent because it's already been reduced. The mistake that we had before was that we took the total of the damage and then subtracted by 1. That's where we messed up in the video.
Yeah. The common misconception is that, well, I have this big chunk of damage -1, but realistically, for each situation, you want to take one off.
Each hit that does multiple damage. Yeah. So honestly, that's a lot better, because that's a lot of damage.
That's really good.
A lot better in a sense of dealing with these medium damage weapons, so like the D3 ones. But anything where multiple D6 damage is still a lot. I mean, like, oh no, 5 instead of 6. That's still scary.
Yeah, and it definitely neuters autocannons really well.
Oh yeah, anything that does flat 2 damage is all of a sudden goes from being like, wow, 50%. I'm putting out damage. Okay, now I'm a bolter. Might as well be.
Yeah, you might as well be. So now we have the 8 dice of the 8 damage, and we're just going to go ahead and resolve those as individual rolls of 6. Ignore the damage applied to the model.
And this is going to be the second part. This is the Spirit Stones aspect.
Right. So it looks like we've only got 1 damage that was, or was that 1 or 2? 1 damage that was nullified, and then we have 7 damage that goes through.
And this is
onto this wave serpent.
Yes, and this, as per the FAQ and the correction that we had in the match, this is how it's supposed to behave.
Yeah. So we see a lot of things that were like feel no pain or it will not die. I guess it will not die is a completely separate situation, but the feel no pain situation, everyone's got something that behaves like it, but rather than it being wound mitigation, it's damage mitigation.
Yes.
It all comes kind of individually instead of that big lump, like I said. So you got to really be careful when you're trying to figure those ones out.
And honestly, this is easily the most misunderstood rule in the game, because I know I've been watching battle reports in the 2 weeks leading up to the edition, and actually just today something that came out after it came, like it dropped and people had the physical books in their hands, still making this mistake with the FAQ clearing it up.
Yeah.
So very easy mistake to make, and we're just happy we could play it out.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some more examples of this as players get more and more acclimated with 8th edition. There's just, like I said, you're condensing a lot of rules, and there's going to be a lot of
There's a lot of
like
old
this.
habits that people are going to have that they're going to be just naturally going to, which can hurt them in some cases or benefit them in some cases. So it's best to clear those up as soon as you can after initiative drops.
Like I said, there's going to be a lot of examples of this, and we actually have a second example that we have coming up, including orcs. So stay tuned. We're going to be right here back with that scenario. So we just covered what went on with the Wave Serpent and Spirit Stones and everything with that intricacy, but when it comes down to individual units, sometimes things can get a little bit more complicated. So we have a second scenario set up with Orcs and one of my favorite guys, honestly, the Pain Boy, I just like his name, and then going up against Admech. So why don't we just jump right into it on both sides of it?
Okay. So in this scenario, we're going to address things like proper wound allocation and how that affects aura buffs. And also, in the FAQ, they've clarified how terrain and as you pull models
so
affects
this, I mean, we all knew when they said that players get to pick off their own models. That is like, okay, I take things off the front if I want to deny a charge. I take things off the back if I want to be able to charge. And, always avoid the special weapons because that's just what you do. But now, hey, cover's involved.
Yes. So in this situation, we have the Admech. They've used their plasma calivers.
And we've overcharged them.
Yes.
And we've already decided that they've hit.
And they've wounded.
And they've wounded, but only 4 times. Luckily, I didn't roll only once.
Yes. Now, they have a -3 save. Orc knobs have a +4 to their armor save, which means they have no save, essentially, because it's -3.
Right.
And this is where we're going to address the odd scenario. We have the Pain Boy, whose ability confers a 6-up feel no pain pseudo, which happens after they lose.
But for damage, right?
Yeah, and it's within 3 inches. So we have a scenario where the Pain Boy is only within 3 inches of the one wounded knob in the unit. So we have to deal with this because if he dies, then the rest of the unit loses that buff.
And the wounds have to be allocated.
Yes, because he is wounded, and that's the one thing I want to showcase. So one of these is going to be 2 damage. But because he's only got, he has to resolve both anyways.
He does.
So he's going to do his 6-ups. See if he can ignore both.
You've done it before.
Oh, I came close.
So close.
So close.
But so he takes that wound.
So he takes that wound, and now he goes away. And we're actually going to use the new command dice for morale because we lost 1 model.
That way we don't accidentally skip over a morale phase.
Yes, which has happened. But that's a good use. Always try to find some dice for that.
Yeah. Or just lay your models down if that works for you. I know some people put a lot of effort into painting their models and they're not going to want to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what command dice are for.
Yes. So now that unfortunate knob has died because I had to allocate wounds to him, the unit no longer benefits from the buff of the Pain Boy.
Right.
So that means this next guy has to take the next wound roll for the damage.
And that's automatic since it's -3. It's automatic 2 damage.
Yep.
And he can't take any saves.
Yeah, and now there's a specific reason why I'm only pulling 1 now.
And specifically that one because you could have taken any of them.
Yes,
right.
But now I'm doing proper wound allocation because as per the FAQ, this unit is now in cover.
Fully in cover.
Yeah, because you benefit from cover when your unit is wholly within.
Just gonna mark this as
mark that up to 2, just for discipline's sake. Now they have essentially a 3+ save. And the plasma caliber is only -3.
And we've only got, if you want to add that dice, that's only 2 saves, but
2 saves to make. But now they have a 6-up armor save, because they went from 4+ to 3, and now it's -3 to back up to 6. So he's going to take those 6
essentially as if that pain point were actually there.
Yeah.
Right.
With actually better rolls because you're negating 2 damage if you make these.
Exactly. It becomes much better.
Yeah.
Which I failed both.
Unfortunately, none. But the good news is that only 2 guys die.
Only 2 guys for 4 damage because, well, I mean, it's only 2 guys with 2 wounds apiece.
Yep.
But if there was 1 guy with 1 wound,
They just
still
get
take the 2.
Just melted.
Just goes to show how important sequencing and proper wound allocation is. So if that first guy that died, if that first model that died, he didn't have any wounds on him, you actually would have gone elsewhere with the wound allocation to allow Pain Boy to keep going on.
Yes. If we wanted to reset up the scenario and take this all the way and have it set up the same way.
With no wounds at all.
No wounds at all. I would have. I personally would have pulled from here. That way I could take the 2 6-up saves of the Pain Boy's Feel No Pain, pulled that, and then I would have to take the additional 2 6-up saves.
Exactly.
From here, and then I would have these guys again with the armor save, but no longer
Potentially more opportunities to make those
Yeah,
saves.
more
6s are
opportunities.
still hard to make, but hey, it can be done.
Yeah, because I'm mitigating the damage,
Yeah.
which means he's got another chance to take another wound to deal
That's right.
and just take the additional 2 damage.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the power of choice. But unfortunately, as we said, since that guy had already started with some wounds,
Yes.
you got to finish it.
Which is why it's super important while you're moving, you can move your guys that have been already taking damage further in so that you can start taking in fresher spaces. So let's say during movement phase, you move that damage knob into the center here.
Yep.
And then you had the
Pain Boy much closer.
the Pain Boy much closer, or having, there's so many options. So movement is a lot more important in this edition
Yes.
on a very, I guess, a micro scale, because you really need to, per model, everything really kind of counts. And you can really get into this game if you need to pull out an unexpected victory.
Yes. And I really hope that this really covers and really addresses a lot of the confusion that we've had. Everybody's reading all the rules right now because the 8th edition's out.
And an FAQ with it, so.
Yep.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, popular idiom isn't always true. Sometimes you do got to sweat the small stuff. That's it for us here from Into the Strategium. We'll catch you next time. We're War Torn Creative.